What's up? What's up, everybody? I hope you're doing great. I hope you're doing great. Let's make sure we are streaming properly everywhere. I hope everyone's doing good. Let me know who's here today. Let's see. Man, it's still not posting. Why isn't it posting? I don't like that. Over on X, it's not posting at all. Let me remove something real quick. We'll get going in just a second, guys. Make sure we got that up. Let's go. We'll get this retweeted over on X to make sure we can have as many people join us as possible. Post this. We got a lot of cool stuff to unpack, guys. Clarity Act. What's going on with Bitcoin? Bittensor TAO. Doing some amazing things. So let's see. Let's get into it, guys. Let's see. Woo! Happy Monday. Happy Monday. Let me know if you can hear me good. I'm going to get this sent over to a couple of the people real quick. But what a week we've had. A weekend that we had. Bittensor TAO did amazing. We talked about it over here at like 150 bucks and it hit like 215 yesterday in a bear market. What's going on? Kind of crazy if you really think about it. But it has been great. We are live. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. But yeah, if you're joining us over on YouTube, totally happy to have you. I appreciate it. And we're going to be talking about Trump's the Clarity Act that is coming, but we're also going to break down an article about the New World Order ending. We're going to take a look at Bitcoin, Bittensor TAO, why I am so bullish on the AI narrative despite being in a bear market. We have to find strength within these markets, and that we're definitely being able to find it. So if you're over there on YouTube, make sure you subscribe, hit that bell notification. We're going live daily. If we refresh this Monday through Friday, we're going live daily. We're also going to be going live or attempt to from ETH Denver. We're going to be making a lot of contacts there. That's great. I do want to say shout out to our stream sponsor, Blofin. That's where I do all my trades, where I've been trading. Actually, TAO is their spot and perps, Caspa, all kinds of altcoins are actually there. But as always, none of this is ever financial advice. I am not a financial advisor and never listen to some random guy on the internet. You would not want to do that. You would not want to do that. But also, if you're watching over here on X, make sure to give us a good follow there, guys. We've been posting some really good content. If you just look last week, we were at about 12 and a half followers. 12,500 followers, and we've gained about 1,000. We've had some really good posts that we're going to go over that I think are very informative. And so let's get into it. Let's get into the market. Let's get into how everything's looking. You can see for BTC, we're basically just in this channel. Good morning, guys. Happy to be here with you all. I was feeling sick on the Friday stream. I had strep throat last week. It was a little rough of a week. Today the kids are home because it's President's Day. So we're here though. We're here always. Don't matter bear market, bull market, we are here. But BTC, you can see we're just kind of ranging here. I think this is what we should be looking for on the top. This is what we should be looking for here on the bottom, and just kind of have to find strength throughout everything. But others versus BTC is looking very strong. Someone just messaged me that we're having audio issues. Can y'all confirm are we having audio issues, or can y'all hear loud and clear? Let me know if you can hear loud and clear. I want to go over an article, a Bittensor TAO article that we wrote that did very well, about 70,000 views. come join us. Get as many people in here as possible. But I want to go over what I'm kind of looking at right now. Obviously, with BTC, this is what we have to look at. If we come over here and take a look at the chart, I had been trading it, and I post all of these in the Discord, by the way, guys, if y'all were ever interested in joining that. But coming over here, taking a look at BTC, and we're going to start off with BTC before we get into the altcoins and everything, because traditionally, this is what leads the market, right? Is BTC, even though we've recently seen Bittensor TAO break apart from the overall rest of the crypto market. And I want to get into why. But you can see I was watching this channel. We broke out of the channel there. If you kind of extend this down, maybe we come back to retest it. I don't know. BTC is not looking extremely strong right now if we take a look at it. I've traded it a little bit. You can see range trading. Something like this, I would just trade. I trade here, close here, open here, close here. And then when you get invalidated, you get invalidated. So fairly simple and very user-friendly to do on Blofin. I would never talk about something I didn't personally use myself. And if you're saying, "Why is there no money in here, Freeman?" It's because I've got it all in my other account. I've got it on the spot side because I was actually buying some TAO that we will get into here in a minute. But a little later on in the stream, I just wanted to do a little overview of the price of BTC, where we currently at. But I want to go over why I think we're struggling a little bit and what is going to bring us back. We've got the Clarity Act currently being worked through with Congress. It currently passed the House. It's being hung up in the Senate, okay? The big thing we're being told is it's all about stable coin yield. But there's a lot of money on the sideline that is waiting, per what this gentleman says, that we're going to watch here in just a second, about what's going on with the Clarity Act.
Ever since I fell down the crypto rabbit hole at the end of the last financial crisis, I've always looked at crypto as a better architecture of finance. And I still look at it that way today. Of course, it's an awesome new alternative asset class. But far more important, I believe, is its role to underpin the new financial system. It's a digital network architecture of finance. It's in all of our interests that we have the type of national legislation that we had back in the 1990s, the Telecommunications Act, that unleashed the first wave of the internet. It gave it a sound legislative and legal underpinning. I think we all need a sound legal underpinning, so that whoever is elected in the next presidential election can't, at a whim, as it was done in the last, become hostile to this innovation.
I think that's huge right there. When he talked about the Telecommunications Act, just think, years ago, everyone had landlines. Even, 25 years ago, businesses didn't even have computers, right? We are at the very forefront of this industry. And I just want to say this interview is with Anthony Pompliano. If y'all know who Anthony Pompliano is, I'm a big fan of his. And just let y'all know something, that he's going to be coming up on the Finance Freeman live stream. He'll be coming up. Hopefully we get him up next week. I'm going to be going to ETH Denver this week, so it's a little busy. And he was obviously at this Bitcoin Investor Week hosting a lot of these interviews. He's a very, very busy man, but we have been in contact. We have been in DMs, and Anthony Pompliano will be on the stream. And I want to talk to him about how this legislation is going to change everything. What money is really sitting on the sideline, but also what narratives are they sitting on the sideline for? We have a lot of people that are interested in Bitcoin, right? A store of value, but there's some things going on in the Bitcoin community right now. There's BIP 110 that we're going to talk about. Don't worry, guys. If you don't know what that is, I'll fill you in later. But, I think they're going to be wanting to put artificial intelligence on chain. Okay. And I think that there's a lot of money on the sideline waiting for some type of legislation. And so when that legislation comes through, I do think we're going to have a lot of adoption. But there's one more thing that I want to show you all that I think people are excited for. And who knows if this is going to go through or not. This is Kathy Woods. She's the CEO of ARK Invest. She got really well known for being an early Tesla bull and things like that, right? Over the last year, her fund has, depends how you look at it, but hasn't performed the best in my personal opinion. But she says something about tax advantages here that I want to let us listen to before we get into why I am so bullish on AI.
2026 is in the US, the midterm elections. And President Trump does not want to be a lame duck. So I have a feeling that he is going to work with his crypto and AI czar, right, to do a few things. One, make sure we get that de minimis ruling through.
She's referring to the Clarity Act right there, this legislation that we just went over.
Make sure. So because, grassroots is where a lot of what we've been talking about is going to happen. But also, it seems as though there's been reticence about actually buying Bitcoin for the strategic reserve. So far.
And there was actually a clip from Jim Cramer when BTC crashed to 60K that there was rumors that President Trump in the United States was filling up the national Bitcoin reserve at 60K. And we had a very strong bounce at that 60K level. Now, historically, something like this would have to go through Congress, right? But we've seen this administration do things that don't necessarily go through Congress. Like for all the military personnel, they gave them, I think it was a $1,776 bonus. That was out of tariff revenue. So they're being able to, or they're at least doing it. We'll see if it gets shot down through, the Supreme Court if it goes there. But we're seeing them use this tariff revenue as a means of, financing different things.
It's confiscated. The original intent was to own 1 million Bitcoin. Yeah. So I actually think they will start buying because I think this will help Trump in a couple of ways. The midterm elections, part of the reason he won the presidency, I think, was the crypto community. Yes. And another reason, of course, is his family is all in on Bitcoin and other crypto assets. And they have, we talked about the DATs earlier. They've kind of fallen apart this year. So I think he's got all kinds of reasons to do this. But the most important one is he does not want to be a lame duck. He wants to have another 1 or 2 productive years. And I think.
And what she means by a lame duck is that right now the Republicans control the White House, the House, and the Senate. But if they do not win the midterms, then that'll be split. And when things are split, if the Republicans have the House, the Democrats have the Senate, for instance, odds are nothing meaningful for one side or the other is going to get passed. This historically is actually when markets perform the best, because markets do not want uncertainty. Markets want to know nothing's going to change. And so I'm actually thinking that would be best for our fiscal markets, for risk on assets, is if it is split. But it doesn't mean that there won't be a lot of things leading up to that election that is done to try to, get on the right side of the voters and things like that.
I think he sees crypto as a path to the future.
Yeah, and they extracted a lot of money out of Trump coin, Melania, and all of those. But long term, I am hoping that, this is good, right? But whenever we get these Clarity Acts passed, we got the Genius Act passed. This is something that if a anti-crypto legislation or, government gets in the future, this is already law, right? It's we're really setting the grounds for it. And Bitcoin, in a sense, is kind of old news. Like she said, the debts are unwinding. I do agree that I think that, we will fund, the United States will fund the strategic Bitcoin reserve. I do think we're going to see a lot of other countries doing it. But at the same time, when you have the likes of an individual company, MicroStrategy, owning 3.5% of the Bitcoin, when you have Satoshi owning so much percent of the Bitcoin, that does cause a little bit of hesitancy whenever it comes down to BTC. And I guess before we get into TAO, I'll just go over the Bitcoin stuff. So there's currently this BIP110, which temporarily limits the size of data fields at the consensus level in order to correct distortive incentives caused by standardizing support for arbitrary data and to refocus priorities improving Bitcoin by money. And so I just did a little chat GPT just to make this very easy. But the core goal of this, okay, it's a draft soft fork, so it wouldn't be a hard fork. There wouldn't be a token created like BSV or Binance or Bitcoin Cash, right? And it's a 1 year stricter consensus rules to reduce arbitrary data storage on the blockchain. The goal, push Bitcoin back towards being money and payments and not a permanent data storage layer. But the people that are against this is like Dr. Adam Bach, the same people that were against the big blocks back whenever we had the splits to Bitcoin Cash and then eventually BSV. If you don't know the history of the block wars, is what they called it, where basically they wanted to keep these blocks small. Because y'all know I had a post recently that we went over and it went viral. It went like 500,000 views, but it was regarding, what is Bitcoin going to do whenever all of the supply is mined, right? Because if you just take a look, there's like absolutely no fees being generated on the Bitcoin layer one. Like, I mean, it's about 200K a day right now whenever we take a look at it. And I don't know why this is loading, but I also talked about some of this last week. I was on a podcast with David right here. And I was very appreciative to be able to be on that podcast. It was super cool. But let me know if this is lagging. Some of this stuff isn't loading right now. And I don't know if X is having a problem or if it's my internet. But I don't think it's my internet. So y'all let me know down in the comments if I am lagging a little bit. And so Bitcoin, it doesn't look extremely strong right now, right? There's a lot of this, not just liquidity issues, but there's also internal Bitcoin proposals that people don't agree on right now. And so we're going to see where all that goes. But Bittensor TAO we talked about last week. And this is probably the altcoin that I am most bullish on right now, even more so than Caspa in this next time frame. And I'll tell you why. Because we are seeing time and time again about artificial intelligence being worried about. It's getting powerful, right? There's almost no guardrails on it. Whenever, and I've said this before, when we were in the space race with Russia, right? It was just like, let's go to the moon. Let's try to go to the moon. Let's try to go to the moon. Well, you have to reduce regulation when that happens, because if not, it slows the entire process down. I mean, they've been building the same bridge on my house for like, 2 years now. It's like this stuff takes forever, right? And so in order to let artificial intelligence grow and for the United States to try to be the dominant AI powerhouse that it wants to be, then you have to reduce some of that regulation a bit. But what also happens is that, AI can grow very quickly. And I wrote this article. If you haven't checked it out, check it out over on X. Centralized AI should scare you. Why Bittensor TAO might be the best trade of our lifetime. Never financial advice, of course. But, this got 70,000 views. And what I get into in this is that we have seen artificial intelligence kind of be controlled by a few different entities, right? You have OpenAI, you have Anthropic, and you have all of these large companies that the best models are not open sourced. Okay, they're not open source, so you don't really know what's going in behind it. But Anthropic released this this audit talking about what Opus 4.6 could do, and you can see it helped create WOD. You can read that right there. It knowingly supported efforts towards this right there. Okay. It conducted unauthorized tasks without getting caught. Researchers concluded Opus 4.6 was significantly better at sneaky sabotage, okay, than the previous model. It was also aware that it was being tested and acted good during those times. Hidden thinking model was found to be conducted private reasoning that Anthropic researchers couldn't access or see. And so this brings up the question, do we need decentralized AI? And that's where my thesis behind, TAO being kind of the best project that I see right now is because of the narrative lineup. Okay. And this isn't just a narrative where, people are talking about it, so it's popular and then it's going to fade out. Like, artificial intelligence is here to stay. And if you just go back through the history of it, if you go back 2 years ago, you could barely generate a video with AI. Now you can't even distinguish if it's real life or if it's artificial intelligence. And so I believe that something is going to happen, and we say, wow, we really, really need decentralized artificial intelligence, that this cannot be something that's centralized anymore. And you can see that this recent post that came up, it's Pentagon is now calling Claude, that's the AI from Anthropic, Claude a threat to national security. Pentagon embeds Claude in military systems via Palantir. In January, Claude used in Maduro extraction. Anthropic exec calls Palantir. Okay, I don't want to read that, but Defense Secretary reportedly close to classifying Anthropic as supply chain risk. All defense contractors must certify zero Anthropic or lose contracts. Okay. Wants guardrails on autonomous weapons and mass surveillance of Americans. Like, this AI is moving extremely fast. It's moving faster than we can even catch it. And so what I mean by that is, I don't think we're going to be to the point where we're like, oh yeah, this is dangerous, potentially, dangerous. We need to roll it back. I think it's going to be oh my gosh, what happened? How are we letting this be centralized entities? Which is where my thesis behind, TAO comes from. Like I say, where I hear one day from an what moment. And the same thing, centralized finance is changing over into crypto, right? We're going into blockchain rails. And I think the same thing is going to happen. And I find it ironic that a lot of people left crypto and went to artificial intelligence. Okay. A lot of the money left into artificial intelligence. A lot of the talent and developers left and went to artificial intelligence. But that's advancing so quick over there, whether you're talking about AI models or individualized AI agents. If you look at software as a service, SaaS, those stocks are going down, down, down because people are realizing that everyone's going to have their own custom AI agents that are helping run their businesses. And I think it's just going to happen extremely, extremely quick. And I don't have this kind of motion, guys. I don't have this kind of motion to talk about this coin and it go up 43%, right? I don't. So it's definitely not my article. It's definitely not my live streams. But if you come down here and you really take a look at everything, just look at these 7 days right here as we're scrolling, going down. Going down, going down. Look at this. Okay, Zcash privacy narrative is huge right now. It's a real narrative. It's real. People do not want to, pay for something. Like, if you're a business and you're paying all your employees on chain, well, that's transparent, right? So there has to be some kind of privacy. So that's a real narrative, right? But when you come down here and you look at all of these numbers, Bittensor TAO in the last 7 days is up, massively. And that's only because 7 days comes back to here. If you come back from this low right here, 144, you can see it was up 43% and it's currently up 30%. So this is real demand in a bear market. This reminds me so much, and this isn't financial advice, and I don't know if this is going to happen, but it reminds me when the rest of the market was going down and we seen Zcash absolutely do amazing. It's what this reminds me. That's what this reminds me of. Interesting. Yeah, it's very interesting. I like the PFP, brother. I like the PFP. And y'all let me know if there's any other artificial intelligence projects we should look at. I want to look at the internet computer in a little bit and give my thesis on that as well, even though it's the chart isn't looking too hot right now. But the truth of the matter is that I do think we need decentralized artificial intelligence. And Grayscale, who has one of the largest ETFs in the world, they had somebody, the guy who founded Grayscale was a very early Bitcoin investor. He came out saying that he thinks this could potentially be like a 500x. But this is Grayscale, okay, the world's largest digital asset focused investment firm. They posted this video yesterday.
At this company, we were effectively using electricity to train neural networks. It's a really cool idea. Let's just, like the brain, let's put electricity through neurons and then use that to actually train a machine learning models that can maybe go 1,000 times faster, 100,000 times faster than what we can classically do with the von Neumann machine. That potentially we could use humanity's most abstracted form of energy to train machine learning models. And the perfect example of how this could be applied to a computational problem was, at that time, the Bitcoin network, which had grown to be many magnitudes larger than all of Google's data centers combined. That's absolutely astonishing, right? How did a non-centralized organization of weirdos across the internet, cyberpunks from basements, build something?
And one thing I want to say is that as this Bittensor TAO narrative keeps going, not only are we going to have the narrative, in my opinion, of decentralized artificial intelligence, we're also going to have the narrative of the next Bitcoin, because its tokenomics are almost identical to Bitcoin. It's proof of work. It just went through a halving. All of that is very huge.
That a government can't even compete with.
And their disclaimer right there, and so obviously Grayscale is coming out. They're going to be pushing that to their clients. We have articles coming out day after day about the fears of artificial intelligence. We have people who work for these AI companies leaving, quitting, and everything. And we see something like TAO running on its own. And like I said, guys, if anybody's looking for a new exchange, Blofin, they have TAO, Spot, and Perp, right? Never financial advice, but if you are looking for a new exchange, and they are the partner of the stream and who I personally use, but they got it both Spot and futures. But if you take a look at it, they were listed, TAO last night was listed on, I believe, BitGet. And somebody purchased 30K TAO, not 30K dollars into TAO, 30K TAO, which sent this from 185 up to 217, 215. And you can see now it's a little bit under 190. But I showed this before, and with the similarities of Bitcoin, with Bittensor TAO being proof of work, being a finite supply, and being in the AI narrative, there's a lot of potential here. And this is what you consider useful work. Like, this is electricity going into artificial intelligence, not going into solving a hash or a mathematical equation just to get Bitcoin blocks served, right? And so if we just think about this and take a look and see how big we are right now in traditional finance, how much people are using AI in their everyday life, and we go down and see that Bittensor TAO is the #1 AI project and it's sitting at 36th, where do you think it could go? Where do you think it could go? You know, even over just a short time frame. How much market share could it get up? I showed last week in a video that the entire artificial intelligence market cap for cryptocurrency is less than Dogecoin, the number 9 meme coin. Okay, or the number 1 meme coin, the number 9 cryptocurrency. And so what does that have to say? I mean, that has to say there's a lot of potential here, possibly. Like if we just look at Dogecoin right here, if Tao just reached where Dogecoin was, which to me, if you're like, okay, decentralized artificial intelligence is here, we need decentralized artificial intelligence, even just as a narrative, that having an AI project, a foundational layer 1 infrastructure artificial intelligence project in the top 10 makes a lot of sense to me, you know? And so you can see the crazy, you know, potentials there. And if you go to like the Doge all-time high, you know, look at that. If we look at stock markets on what things such as Nvidia are doing, things such as Palantir are doing, these are very, very high valued stocks, right? And the thing is, we are just now on the forefront of having legislation come that we talked about via the Clarity Act, via different things. We've got Grayscale having a TAO ETF. There's actually a digital asset treasury company called, I believe it's TAO X, on the stock market. So that's the first micro strategy type of everything. But I just think the entire world is going to pivot towards on-chain artificial intelligence, you know, and being proof of work is better than proof of stake in the sense that there's actual computing power behind it, and the computing power is not being wasted. The computing power is going into artificial intelligence. And if you look right now, the number 1 problem all of these artificial intelligence projects have is electricity. And so what if we weren't wasting that on like BTC, for instance, and we were using that electricity for TAO, and at the same time it was being useful work, you know? And so you could see the funding rate right here is negative. If we come over here, let's look at the BTC. So the BTC funding rate is positive. So shorts are piling up on Bittensor TAO. The bulls have been able to keep it up and going. The shorts were really high up here, and rightfully so, right? It's because if we take a look at Bittensor TAO right here on Blofin, we come here, we draw a line right there. You could see that's a pretty good resistance support point. We had resistance here, resistance here, resistance here, resistance here, resistance here, and we're still under that. But this is the kind of flips I talk about in my Discord, and that I like to look for, is if we were able to break above this and then come back and retest this as support, that would be good. Like being able to solidify that $200 level. But I truly believe we're just a few headlines away of stuff like this to the society saying, hey, we need decentralized artificial intelligence. So let's go over here, take a look at some comments. What do we have here? Double zero. So that's different than zero. Let me know, Noah. Double zero is an interesting infrastructure play. Eventually, bandwidth and internet speeds will be a factor that people care about for their AI agents in terms of getting work done. Let's see if it's over on Coin Market Cap, and we're take a look at it. So 2Z. Okay, so $250 million market cap, fully diluted value. So it's still got a lot of inflation coming. It's about 33% mine. Oh, it's on Binance. It's on Coinbase, huh? Interesting. Let's see. Double zero secures SEC clarity for 2Z utility token. No action letter boosts double zero's regulatory standing. ZEC decision opens path for 2Z token on Gemini. Rare SEC clarity may shape future utility token offering. 00's 28 million funding completed March 2023, led by Dragonfly Capital. That's a very large venture capitalist firm in crypto. Enhances blockchain validator communication efficiency, impacting Solana's network. So is this a layer 1 or is this built on Solana? Okay, so it's built on Solana. And I could see there being a lot of AI agents on Solana just because the transaction fees are extremely small. Ecosystem grants, builders, contributors, Jump Crypto. I wonder what that is. Must be a entity or something. And so, yeah, this is definitely a VC-backed coin. If this is real, then there's about to be a ton of inflation coming in October. So I wonder if this is accurate. I'd have to dive into the white paper a little more to see if we can find that. Let's do that right now. Let's see how clean of a white paper it is. If we could find the tokenomics here on 00. I wonder why it's called 00. The fiber links on 00 network provide the low latency, high bandwidth connections between different points on the globe. Network contributors provision the connections and the encode a service level agreement. Network creation. The 00 project goes beyond a standard marketplace where providers and users meet, negotiate bilaterally. It is a true network. Each link is more valuable as part of the whole than it would be in isolation. Use cases. At the highest profile, distributed system architecture holistically represent the strongest use case for 00 network. A blockchain's dual objective of being public and performant often work against one another in the status quo. You know, and I'm wondering how much privacy people are going to care about within AI agents, within that narrative. Do people care about that? Do people not? But I'd be interesting to see if this unlock is real, if this right here, if this emission schedule is real, because if it is, there's a lot of tokens being unlocked soon, right? And so obviously tokens unlock can, not always, but it can add to selling pressure. You know, if you look at this all time, the chart came on to here in October of that. Let's go to market cap though. Yeah, so it originally launched at a 2.6 bill market cap, and it's down now to 263. I mean, that doesn't make me write off the project or anything like that. It just something to keep in mind, you know. And another one that I'm not writing off because of the chart is the internet computer. You know, the chart looks bad. It hit an all-time low down here at $2, but the internet computer is all on chain. Okay, something like Bittensor TAO, or even if you look at Caspin and VProgs, you know, a lot of stuff happens off chain and the verification happens on chain. Proof of work, it gets really bogged down, right? You can't do all that. It'd be very, very expensive to try to do everything on chain. But whenever we take a look at the internet computer, the internet computer is literally all on chain. And they just signed a deal with a some type of government. I believe it was overseas. Let me close out some of these windows so I can see a little better. But the internet computer, if we come over here to their X, and this is one I've covered a lot on my YouTube channel, but if you come over here, look, they're integrating all the different AI stuff, but they partnered with this Pakistan Digital Authority, which is pretty crazy. Like, this is being used as a cloud service for sovereign nations, the internet computer, you know. And so I'm really excited about ICP, even though the token price is down in the gutter. And the reason that I say that, I don't write off ICP, but I know the reason the price goes down, and it's because it's like a full-size company working on it behind the scenes in Definity. And if people are being paid in ICP, and the other day there was one of the largest mints in a long time, like 750K IPC were given out, over, I think it said the average person got like 5,000, right? And so 5,000 US dollars worth, right? So there's potentially a lot of selling pressure, but something like this reminds me of like Amazon very back in the day, like year over year, you losing money, but eventually you just get so much market dominance that you kind of hit escape velocity. And so it's very interesting to see this partnership. Big step for Pakistan's digital sovereignty. Okay. This collaboration includes the rollout of 1,500 AI licenses for government entities and startups, laying the foundation for secure, locally hosted AI systems and next generation national digital infrastructure. And Dominic Williams, the founder behind the Internet Computer, he came out talking about this. We've seen this Layer Zero come out, and he came to talk about how expensive it would be versus using the Internet Computer. But, this is a big thing that a lot of people are sleeping on. Cloud and app sovereignty is a major worldwide trend. Internet Computer ICP provides sovereign network cloud optimized for a self-writing future where AI creates and updates secure custom services. So I'm excited to see where these narratives go. I posted yesterday my kind of updated portfolio in my Discord over here. I posted a PDF right here, market outlook thesis. And basically, I think that we have been in a time where we had, going back to the ICO seasons. I don't know how long y'all been in crypto. Let me know down in the comments below. But, we had a lot of venture capitalist backed cryptocurrencies that came out, and there was a lot of liquidity taken out, and these things are very expensive to run. Right? Overall, they're very expensive to run. But we're now at a time to where I think we could scroll down this list and we could see stuff like Tron, and I can throw it in the trash like I always say about Tron. But we can go down here and we can actually find projects that have been building and that have real world use cases. Chainlink, for instance, how's it this beat up? You know what I mean? It's the Oracle that every EVM Ethereum based chain is going to use. Hedera HBAR has constant partnerships with, huge companies. Zcash is very interesting. But there was a post that I seen yesterday, a video that I seen yesterday that I actually wouldn't mind showing y'all, and it has to do with let me come in here. I think it's this gentleman right here. And he had a video about what if Bittensor TAO is able to turn into not just an artificial intelligence infrastructure chain, and then they have all their subnets that do everything else, but what if it was able to turn into a privacy chain? And how could we get, original Bitcoin people to come over into Bittensor TAO? So let's take a look at this.
Tensor TAO this week with the Open Tensor Foundation. The CEO and the COO has stepped down. And this has me thinking.
So what they're talking about, the step down, is that the CEO, the founder stepped down, but it wasn't because he was leaving the project or anything like that. It was just so that it could truly be decentralized. A lot of people are saying this is the Satoshi moment for Bittensor TAO, that, it's gone. It's in the hand of the communities. It's in the hand of the miners, the node providers, the validators. It's in the hands of the decentralized network.
Why? And, as we all kind of know, they want to decentralize it. But is there something bigger in play here? And I'm thinking potentially maybe Bittensor TAO becoming a privacy chain. That is something that, opens up a lot of conversation. Obviously, this will be up to the validators and the core contributors to kind of decide on this. but it is something that I think we should all start thinking about. Now there's just no one to point the finger at, nobody to go to jail, no one to get arrested, and we could potentially see,
because it's truly decentralized, right? In ways that Bitcoin is. But I'm thinking we could have some Bitcoin OGs coming into Bittensor TAO. AI narrative, proof of work, same tokenomics as Bitcoin, except for the energy is not useless work, it's useful work.
something like this happening. And the one main reason this gets me excited is because we saw a lot of Bitcoin maxis actually adopt Zcash over the course of the last couple of months, mainly because of the privacy. Zcash is now what Bitcoin used to be in the sense of, resistance and stuff like that. They see Bitcoin now as a instrument of the banking system, and they want to get into stuff like Zcash. But we know here that Bittensor is very similar to Bitcoin when it comes to tokenomics and the halving and stuff that the maxis really liked. What if we add privacy to that? Will the maxis adopt Bittensor like they did adopt Bitcoin in 2012? Because if you're paying attention to Bittensor, it feels like 2012 Bitcoin. It really does. So this could open up a lot of people, maybe the Adam Backs of the world and stuff like that, really kind of looking at Bittensor TAO as something that they once saw Bitcoin as. So I'm excited for.
I agree. I'm very excited, and I just want to give him credit. Shizzy Unchained, he was big in the BTC community, so he's somebody that came from like the ordinal community and things like that, and he found Bittensor TAO. Like, I just truly believe we're extremely early to TAO, and that not only is it a good narrative, but it has actual use case. And so next week, we're going to try to plan this for next week, that after Anthony Pompliano and them come up, that we're going to be able to have somebody from TAO ecosystem that's very knowledgeable, that can break down what is TAO, what are the different subnets, what's the difference between root, what is DTAO, break down all the fundamentals of Bittensor so that we can take this extremely, extremely complex project, and then somebody with either you're a PhD, an engineer, or a high school dropout can understand it. You don't have to have this super, super high level. That's one of the problems with cryptocurrencies. You've got these computer scientists behind the scenes, but they're not good at dumbing it down. They're extremely intelligent, but we need people like you, people like me, that are able to break this down, and interview people that are able to break this down and utilize our platforms to the best way possible. Pumpolinski, keep up the great work. Cass and Tao are king. What's up, brother? Y'all go follow Pumpolinski, man. He's a really good guy. A really, really, really good guy. Let's see how everything is looking. This is an article I made about Caspa and Bitcoin, which we can take a look at here. Is Caspa the layer one that Bitcoin was meant to be? And I go through here and I talk about the challenges with the trilemma, okay, which is security, decentralization, and scalability. And most of the time, people give up this decentralization via most proof of stake blockchains in order to be cheap and in order to, still be, secure. But Caspa has solved the trilemma. Now, because it's proof of work, it's extremely quick, it's extremely cheap, but now it has to be implemented, right? And they're working on being able to have basically smart contracts via vProgs. Caspa is not a blockchain. It's a block DAG, which is directed acrylic graph. And so you can see right here what the different blocks look like. You can see how they're all parallel blocks right there. But I went on to explain how the Bitcoin layer one, the blocks are every 10 minutes. That means if you pay for something, it'll take at least 10 minutes for that Bitcoin to go through, right? To be confirmed on the block. Whereas Caspa is 10 blocks per second, and they have plans to go to 32 and then do 100 blocks per second. And it's doing it all on all the confirmation on the base layer one chain. And instead of using layer two networks to scale, they're using these vProgs, which will do a lot of the computation off chain, but then on chain will be the verification. And that's really all you need. All you need is to use some kind of ZK proofs. You don't even need to know all the details. You just need to know that what is being confirmed is true. And Caspa's one that has a lot of similarities for BTC. But this right here is an example of VProgs. And it was actually, I borrowed it from this gentleman right here. And we're going to look at him, but MHIE. But he is actually head of research at Uphold. And they were one of the first people to list Caspa. And he is constantly retweeting stuff about Caspa. He is talking about how this is the year for Caspa. 2026 will be the year for Caspa. And there's this upcoming covenant-centric hard fork. Let's take a look at this. I haven't seen this yet. Caspa is preparing a covenant-centric hard fork scheduled for mainnet activation on May 5th, 2026. And that has been confirmed by Michael Sutton as the day of the hard fork. The upgrade expands layer 1 programmability by introducing native assets and extending covenant functionality. It also lays the groundwork for verifiable programs. Okay, that's these VProgs that I'm talking about, and zero knowledge proofs. So the zero knowledge proofs is going to be a part of the entire privacy sector, the entire privacy narrative. But this is what I'm looking for. This is what I am looking at this cycle. You know, if we come look, I'm looking at artificial intelligence, I'm looking at privacy, and I'm looking at emerging layer ones. And I've honestly kind of lost a little bit of my want for things like Ondo. And, you know, that's real world assets. And I'm extremely bullish on real world assets. But the only problem that I have is, you know, you have a token here that is 27 cents. But at the same time, we're seeing all these listings, all these tokenized stocks, yada, yada, yada. But if you look at Ondo, it's a governance token. But how does that, you know, the money that the Ondo Foundation or whoever makes from listing these tokenized stocks, those fees, does that benefit the token holders? And I've went over this time and time again, but that's one of these big problems in crypto. And I actually laid this out in this Discord article right here of what we have to look at, like which narratives are not just hype, but have actual use case. Which ones are vaporware? And, you know, I put it in this PDF that explains my portfolio strategy and everything. But that's what I'm trying to look for. And so that's why things like the internet computer, even though the price looks bad, what are they building? Is it real? Yes, it is real. They're building a real new worldwide web in Web 3, the true Web 3. You know, when you take a look at Bittensor TAO, this is the artificial intelligence framework. Okay. This is basically the store. This is basically the town. And then you have these different subnets, and TAO is the infrastructure play. You can also go look at the different subnets, which you could kind of look at those as altcoins built off of a layer 1. They're not that at all. But from an investment perspective, that's how I look at it, because TAO is like the infrastructure. It's like buying into Solana, right? And then these subnets are kind of other bets, right? Like you can invest directly into those, but obviously they're more risky than just investing into the overall, you know, infrastructure ecosystem. So they're not at all like meme coins or different altcoins built on Solana. But from like an investment perspective, that's how I look at it and compare it from like a risk reward ratio of kind of what we're looking at. But those are the narratives. But this is my favorite time in crypto. And it sounds weird because you're like, hey, how's it the favorite time in crypto? Because whenever I look at this, my bags are down, Freeman. I'm still going to work in my 9 to 5. I thought altcoin season was coming. Well, listen, we can sit here and cry about woulda, shoulda, coulda. We can sit here and feel bad for ourselves and feel pity, or we can accept where we are. Bitcoin's down 50%. All signs show that we are in a bear market. If you look historically, bear markets last 1 year. If you look at the top of BTC, if we come back over here to Blofin, you can see that we topped out. You know, it's already been 5 months ago, like October time frame. Okay. And so we're already halfway through this thing. If it does the historical bear market, if we look, we know legislation is coming. Okay. We know that the Clarity Act could be passed as soon as April 3rd. It could be passed in spring. But either way, we know June to July, summerish time, we're going to get the Clarity Act passed through. There's no doubt in my mind. We know that there's a new Federal Reserve chair coming in middle of May that is going to cut interest rates. The president would not have put someone in that is not cutting interest rates. So we can either sit here, cry about our bags, wah, 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 or we can accept where we're at, realize we're probably halfway through the worst of it in terms of price action, every financial advice. But when I look at the chart, I'm like, how much? I mean, we're already down 50% on BTC. Like, are we going to go down another 50%? You know, what about all these alts? If you look at the alts, they're showing a lot of strength right now. Seriously, if we pair altcoins against BTC, it looks strong, you know, especially the good altcoins. But the thing we have to do is, and the lesson that we have to learn from this past cycle of waiting for altcoin season is that those days are done. There's no more 2021 altcoin season where you can blindly throw a dart and you can make a 10x, a 15x. That's gone, gone, adios. Okay. And it's good that it's gone, because the reason it is because there was so much vaporware in here. Okay. Like I've said this time and time again. What is this? Who uses Polkadot? I mean, I'm being serious here, guys. Who uses Polkadot? You know, and why is it taking up more market cap than decentralized artificial intelligence? You know, I love my meme coins. I love my community coins. I'm not going to hate on those, you know. Let's go down, you know, Near Protocol, another cool AI thing that they've got going on, you know, but what has actual use case? So that's what we have to realize, is that it's not the thing that's got the best guy talking about it, not the thing that's got all the influencers talking about it, because the odds are a lot of the projects that have a lot of influencers talking about it are not the decentralized protocols, like the 100% decentralized, like Bittensor TAO, like Bitcoin, you know, things like that. And we've got to be able to do our own research and look at this. Like Pump Fund, this thing's got $772 million in it. Like, why? Like, I love meme coins just as much as any other degen, but Pump Fund coin, I mean, come on, what is it? And so instead of sitting here crying, you know, wishing that we would have had altcoin season, we got to understand where we are. And we got to find what the winners are, what the losers are, and why there are winners and why there are losers. And where's the world going? The world is going towards artificial intelligence. And so now I want to come over and I want to take a look at an article from Ray Dalio right here. Okay. It's official. The world order has broken down. At the Munich Security Conference post 1945, order was pronounced DEAD by most leaders, and the picture behind it was laid out in the Security Report of 2026. So let's come over here to Gronk to summarize this right here. And he references statements and atmosphere from the Munich Security Conference. That's what we just went over. But if we look down here, I want to say, where does he think we are now and what happens next? Okay, so he's going through this theory of a really big cycle. You can see he describes post-World War II rules based on international order, built on institutions, shared security, rule law as no longer functioning or enforceable. He cites consensus that we went over at the Munich Security Conference, and Secretary Rubio was just talking there, but he thinks we're at the brink of or already entering stage 6. which is the breakdown disorder phase. He has described this in his most recent post. Stage 5 is escalating internal and external challenges to the dominant power order. We've seen that. We've seen the challenges with the United States and with NATO. We've seen that bickering back and forth, right? Also, challenges to the debt burdens, money printing, political polarization, wealth gaps. We know all that is true. We're in a K-shaped economy. If you take a look at a K, it goes up and people are getting rich and other people are getting poor and outpriced by inflation. But the stage 6 is a full breakdown of the old monetary policy, domestic political and international geopolitical orders. Rules fade or become irrelevant, okay? Basically, rules don't matter anymore. It's just how much power do you have? And we see that, military power and things like that, okay? He emphasizes this driven thesis by timeless forces, excessive debt leading to devaluation, printing, internal inequality, polarization, and external power shifts. So what happens next? What does Ray Dalio think happens next? Okay. Escalating great power competition. So what do we see? Let's look at where we are at with artificial intelligence. We know a lot of chips come from Taiwan. We know China wants Taiwan. We know that the U.S. wants to protect Taiwan and give them their sovereignty. So that's one potential. We also have, conflicts going on in Europe currently. That's been going on for a few years. We've seen what went on in Venezuela and all of that. But wars and disorder become more probable, financed by massive borrowing, printing, which devalues fiat currencies. Monetary, financial implications. We're seeing this. That is why gold went up so much. Let's go look at tokenized gold right here. Look. Pax Gold. Look at this. It looks like a honey pot. If you know what a honey pot is, it's like a meme coin where people can only buy, they can't sell. So like the chart goes up forever and there's only like special wallets I can sell. But look at that. That's gold. This is like a $15 trillion asset class, right? And so we're already seeing signs of that happening. Okay. But he stresses this isn't deterministic doom. Wise leadership reforms could soften it. And we are kind of seeing that. If we see secretary, I butchered that. If we look at this latest, Secretary Rubio was given a speech. That's going to be in a different language. Let me try to find it. But he was given a speech talking to the European leaders about that. Oh, here it is. That basically we have shared interest, that the United States is a child of Europe, and that, we want to be around together for the next 100 years. So let's listen to this right here. That was on Fox.
Charlie, good morning. Great to be with you. Yes, I've had a chance both to read and to listen to Secretary Rubio's remarks. He told them what they needed to hear, that they have a responsibility to be a shared partner. That is, if they're worried about trust breaking down, you have to have a counterparty, a place that wants to be a trusted partner and do the hard work that comes alongside of that. He didn't do it in an angry way. He did it out of a shared sense of responsibility.
And it was very, very respectful, And so I think that with these kind of speeches, with the article that Ray Dalio said, that, we have to hope that we do get the soft landing with all of this and that everything's good. But that's just from the conflict forefront. But there's no doubt that fiat currency is going to get printed into oblivion, right? It's actually baked into fiat that there's 2% inflation per year. It's a part of it. Their best case scenario is that your dollars is worth 2% less per year. And so then that takes us to fixed assets and fixed assets that actually matter. Bitcoin. Okay. Bitcoin, we all used to say it was a digital gold. Some people want to keep it digital gold. Some people want to try to make it more of a total smart contract transactional layer. That's what we have going on right now. We'll see if that happens. Okay. You have the likes of things like Caspa, right? But that's a little more, a little later on. But you have things like Bittensor TAO, which are, totally combining proof of work, fixed supply, and artificial intelligence. What if we have all kinds of AI agents running on subnets on TAO, bidding up the TAO, having to use the TAO to pay for this, that, or the third? This is a 2.03 bill market cap currently, 10.67 in circulation. And so that's why I am so bullish on Bittensor TAO. But overall, I'm bullish on fixed assets, and not just fixed assets, but also assets that have the potential to be deflationary. That's almost better than a fixed asset. Like if the money supply goes down, that's actually better. And Ethereum actually has the potential to become deflationary. And Ethereum's the one that I think a lot of people are writing off. But they're writing off Ethereum because of this price action. What they're not looking at is that Ethereum has 60% of the total value locked in DeFi. That if people believe that stable coins, that real world assets, that tokenization is going to come, then Ethereum's a winner. Ethereum's a winner there. That's why I'm going to ETH Denver. I'll be leaving in a couple days. I'll be going there. I'll make sure to post a lot of content from ETH Denver and keep you all updated with what's going on. But I'm bullish on stable coins as well. But that's what I'm looking at kind of after reevaluating everything that happened last cycle, evaluating what happened with altcoin season. What I'm taking a look at is what are the infrastructure type plays, whether that's looking at Circle, which is the company behind USDC on the stock market, or if that's looking at artificial intelligence infrastructure, if that's looking at layer one payments infrastructure, or if it's just looking to get a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt around and talk about what's going on with BTC, because I personally think we get a little bit lower eventually. I've shared my thesis before. I think we get a little bit lower eventually. Maybe we come up before we dip, but I think that we end up somewhere in this level probably. You've got some people calling for this right here around 40, but I think we probably get this sweep of this deep liquidity right here. But like I said, never financial advice, guys. I could be completely wrong. But that's kind of what I'm looking for whenever it comes to this. But I listed a lot of projects that I like, that I'm bullish on. But let's go take a look before we head out today and kind of see what crypto Twitter is talking about. Ray Dalio issues stark warning amid global system reset. Sell dead assets and buy gold, he said. The world order as we know it is gone. We are heading into very dark times. This guy has absolutely no idea about cryptocurrency, by the way. I want to show y'all something that's funny. So I made a post the other day saying that, these people that are like essentially exit liquidity for Bitcoin, that they're all coming in wanting to make these digital asset treasury companies and things like that, such as, Grant Cardone, that he wanted, he's doing like this real estate hybrid thing. And he's like, he's interviewing Michael Saylor. And when I'm listening to the interview, it's obviously he has no idea what he's talking about. But I want y'all to be able to listen to this little excerpt, okay, right here. And tell me if you think this is as funny as I do.
Zero, guys. We've had 13 or 14 years to do that. If it was a scam, this is my thinking, okay? This is the rationale of a real estate investor. If the whole thing was a big scam and Nakamoshi was really...
Bruh, Nakamoshi? This dude? This the kind of people that are coming in here getting digital asset treasury companies. Nakamoshi? Satoshi Nakamoto, okay? Not Nakamoshi. I want to see these guys' face. Were they able to keep it together?
Epstein, which was really the CIA.
Look at this guy. He's like, oh my
This
God,
was some
dude.
guy that
He's
just wanted to get
knock
rich.
him
Dude, it was
mochi.
already worth $2 trillion.
Oh, come on, man. Come on. Oh, man. That's too funny. That's too funny. But you can see here they're expecting the Clarity Act to be by spring. So I think that's what we should look at as well. Let me see. I thought I had something from Altcoin Daily that I wanted to show. But this right here is the BitGet head of influencer partnerships talking about Bittensor TAO. Vitalik, prediction markets could replace what? What? Vitalik says hedging on real world events through prediction markets could replace fiat currency. Instead of building an ideal stablecoin, he argues the market could get rid of the concept of how does prediction markets have anything to do with reducing fiat currency? This makes me not even want to go to ETH Denver. Like, what's this guy even talking about? One second he's selling a whole bunch of ETH, and then he says prediction markets going to replace fiat. Like, I mean, I love prediction markets. Don't get me wrong, but how is that going to reduce fiat? I really don't get it. Breaking: another Amazon AWS failure brings down X and the global internet. See, what if X was done on the internet computer? Be a crazy concept. Would be a crazy concept. OpenClaw's 1,800 exposed instances and the Blisk solution. Okay. Wyckoff accumulation. So let's take a look at this. 72. So what if we are here? Come right here. So this right here was 60. Trade accordingly, February 17th. Huh. Looks a little old. I mean, I would think that we would already be. Huh. I guess not. I thought he was posting other ones at some point. Let's go look. Murad, the greatest bag holder of all time, man. Shout out to him. Shout out to him. Keep on talking on SPX 6900. Believe in something, while others just sell on your head. Senator Loomis announcing Kraken sponsorship for Wyoming Trump accounts. Senator Cynthia Loomis says that crypto exchange Kraken will sponsor Trump accounts for every child born. Wow, that's cool. Bitcoin quantum update. So this is something else that's causing a lot of FUD with Bitcoin right now, is that people are worried about this quantum risk, right? Developers advanced BIP 360 laying groundwork for post-quantum protection. The proposal removes a taproot key path feature that could expose public keys to future quantum attacks. Not activated yet, but the defense plan has begun. Yeah, I really think that it's just good FUD opportunity, man. Anytime I've ever looked at crypto and thought crypto was done for, I mean, guys, it always rebounded, right? Like crypto blockchain is not going anywhere. Let's come look specifically. Come to some of the list. Let's look at this. I like this one. Gronkopedia is growing. What is this? Updated. Second U.S. carrier nears Iran. This was yesterday. President Trump drops the hammer down on the regime. Pentagon prepares second aircraft to deploy to the Middle East. Man, I hope everything gets settled good. I don't want no conflicts. But these are all things that as investors we have to look at, right? We have to look at what's going on macro-wise that could potentially affect our bags. What could, freak out markets and stuff. Elon Musk, SpaceX, and XAI are competing in a secretive new Pentagon contest to produce voice-controlled autonomous drone swarming technology. Yeah, I mean, man, there's so much stuff going on that people, worry about. Let me try to switch this over a little bit. Yeah. I mean, we're having the bear market. Looks like it's continuing to go down, right? And sure, like I said, a lot of people can cry about that. A lot of people can complain about that and feel bad for yourself and feel pity, this, that, or the third. Or we can spend this time to really find the good projects, the projects that are building, right? What is the biggest narrative in the world right now? Artificial intelligence, AI. And the fact that we keep seeing fears about centralized artificial intelligence is why I believe we've seen Bittensor TAO run so hard. And so I don't think we've even seen the beginning of the real AI run. Like I said, if you look at Dogecoin and you compare the cumulative market cap of every AI project in Web3 in crypto, Dogecoin is the higher market cap. That shows the type of imbalance. It has nothing to do with Dogecoin. I love Dogecoin. What it has to do with is how undervalued AI is in cryptocurrency. And artificial intelligence has to come on chain. All the people that left blockchain or crypto to go work on AI, now they're like, hey, how are these AI agents going to pay one another? Are they going to go down to Wells Fargo and scroll their little computer agent in there and try to open up a bank account? No, they're going to use blockchain rails. And so I believe we're going to have a lot more AI builders coming on chain, working on foundational infrastructure. And that's why I'm betting on Bittensor TAO, because it's already there. But guys, we are live streaming Monday through a Friday. Shout out to the sponsor, Blofin. We couldn't do this without them and without every one of y'all watching. But that's the Monday update of what's going on in the markets. We will be back tomorrow with another update, see how the AI projects are going. Look at Algorand. It's been looking pretty strong, and we're going to have Algorand up tomorrow. We're going to be talking to Alpha Arcade, and we're going to be talking to Lofty. This is prediction markets and real-world assets. So I'm extremely excited to see what Algorand and the team is building. It's a project's been around 7 years that is still innovating to this day. And so guys, make sure you follow us on X, make sure you follow us over on YouTube, and I love you all. See you tomorrow.